Sorry if you can hear us now. We had a little bit of a technical issue because of my ex. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Our presentation is about how to guide your children to financial independence. And we have some really, thank you for letting me know. We have some really good points that really work. And we're not going to be discussing something that you don't know. For the most part, you probably know this. And we're not going to teach you. We're going to share some points that we hopefully that will give you some clarity so you can share with your children. We don't feel it's ever too early, especially in our culture where there's so much accumulated debt. We're going to be talking about that as we go through. I'm Rob Imperato. For you that, those of you who don't know me, and I'm still Rob Imperato for those of you who do. I'm a certified life and leadership coach. And my passion is helping people to help themselves. In particular, this incident, I am partnering with a wonderful person, to me is young because I'm a baby boomer and she's young, that had such great insight. Let me give you a little bit background on this. About 2 years ago, I met Haley. And she came up to me at an event we were at and was asking me about what I do. And we, of course, exchanged emails and discussed it. She emailed me and followed through, which is very highly irregular in our culture because she had such a passion. And she explained to me what her vision was, acknowledging, and again, a young individual, seeing it from her perspective about how much debt and how much, in particular, college students were coming out with this insurmountable amount of money in debt and having to rely on others to really help them through, really creating a lack of independence and feeling good about themselves. Kelly is an investment advisor representative, she says down there, but way beyond that, to me, she's a coach in the sense that she has such great empathy and understanding. And she really meets people where they're at in the coaching world. And it's amazing to listen to her talk and all her sense of knowledge and understanding and in-depth views of life at a young age. So I am honored to be partnering with her with this. I've learned so much from her. And as you get to know her, and I'm going to introduce her right now, you'll understand why. Kaylee.
Thank you, Rob. That was very nice. As Rob said, I'm Kaylee Hawley. I'm an advisor with my family's independent wealth management company. And I came about this idea because I was working with individuals who were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they were just starting out to save for retirement, and they were so far behind and stressed, and they had no plan or had no direction on where they wanted to go. And as I went along, I realized I need to bring this down to the high school and college level or even younger, because they have such an advantage at a young age to set themselves up for success for the rest of their lives if they know what they're doing in the very beginning. And I was fortunate to have met Rob about 2 or 3 years ago, because he has not only helped me in my business life, but my personal life as well. He is a great listener. He has this natural, innate ability to connect with people and help them discover answers for themselves, which is so much more powerful than just telling you the answers and telling you what to do. So my career is more meaningful and fulfilling because of having met him and from what I've learned from him, and I'm so excited to share it with others. So with that, here's our contact information at the below our names, below our pictures, and feel free, even after the webinar is over, feel free to email us, call us with any questions or comments, feedback you may have.
Excellent. Yes, we'd be delighted to hear from you because this is a passion and purpose for both of us. As we both know, we always like to get feedback from our clients, in particular parents that we're working with, because there's a lot on the parents' plate today. And we don't want to add more tonight. We're going to really share, not to add, but share what we're talking about. But when we ask for feedback, as we recall, this has been, I was a kid, I remember a picture's worth 1,000 words. So one of our clients agreed to send us pictures of her experience working with or what it was like. She'll remain unnamed, but again, the experience for us was wonderful. This is she just prior to meeting and working with Kaylee and I. And then after 3 months of working together and working on not only her finances but her personal issues, this was her. So as we said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Now, are these real pictures? No, but it gets the message out that we really can help and we want to help. And tonight may be about finance, but it's also including the life that you deserve and the children deserve to live. Kelly.
This is an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. I'll first lead into 3 steps that you can teach your children now that will set them up for success later on. And then Rob's going to go into the 3 habits to help your child to create a mindset for success. Everything that we talk about in the next hour or so it all starts with the mindset. And this is a quote from Gandhi. It's kind of clipped a little bit, but your beliefs turn into your thoughts. And if you keep thinking a certain way, those thoughts will turn into actions. And when you do something enough times, those actions become your habits. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about the mindset leading to everything that you think and do. And then we'll end with questions and answers at the end. Rob.
We often ask, or I do, I know, I've done life management skills with young people, and as Kaylee said, I started in high school, then I went down to middle school to really, before and into first year, to get a really good grasp on as they go into some of them consider the really most difficult part of their scholastic career. And I've asked the definition of money. Then I decided to start asking the definition of money to older people, and myself included. And I never really had a clear definition. And this is not the all of it. If there's different definitions, but I like this. Money is the set of assets in the economy that people regularly use to buy goods and services from other people. It serves 3 functions: medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value. Well, I asked my group, and I'm going to ask Kelly to expand on this a little bit, but I asked my group of youngsters, what happens if we weren't using money and we were using chickens? And some of the answers were really funny, but they said, oh boy, we'd have to bring a truckload. But the thought process is how we look at money, and we're going to be talking about that. Kelly?
Yeah, it's interesting because money is such a huge part of our lives, and it can be so burdensome, or it could be it could represent freedom. But really, it just comes down to it's a medium of exchange for goods and services, and there's a value put to it, and that kind of puts it in perspective.
Absolutely. Financial freedom and independence. I'm going to give you some definitions, not by Kaylee and I, but by people you probably already know. Harv Eker. My definition of financial freedom is simple. It's the ability to live the lifestyle you desire without having to work or rely on anyone else for money. And that would be great next to the extreme. Some people might want to continue working, but that's his quote. And I picked 2 of them. We picked 2 of them just to give you a little bird's eye view of what the interpretation or definition may be. And I know more people have probably heard of Susie Orman. She does a television show, and she's really blunt at times and tough. Her definition is a big part of financial freedom is having your heart and mind free from worry about the what-ifs of life. And that's what money does. There's a reliance on it in our culture, of course, that there's a need to purchase things and to live. Kelly, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of what freedom and financial freedom is having a choice. How many of you would be doing something differently if you didn't have to work to pay for all that you have in your lifestyle? Would it be different?
Yeah, great point. And and this is what I love working with Kelly. She provokes thoughts in myself. And how many people would work for free if they had the money, doing something they're passionate about? So it's a great balance, as we call it. Mm-hmm. Definition of success. This, let me talk just briefly about our program. And I just wanted to let you know we are offering a program, and we'll talk about it at the end. But we want to help these young adults and young adults to be understand what success is. It's not just about the monetary or wealth. Success is what you define for yourself to create happiness in life. And Tony Robbins, my definition of success is to live your life in a way that causes you to feel a ton of pleasure and very little pain. And because of your lifestyle, have the people around you feel a lot more pleasure than they do pain. In my coaching, in my learning through my own experience in life, that the better we feel about ourselves, the better the people that surround us get. They get more from us. They feel better about themselves because we feel good. It generates out. And this is a really powerful statement, I believe. Your thoughts, Kev?
No, you said it very well. I agree. And another definition of success that we talked about before is living true to your values. If everything you do is going against your values, there's going to be a constant battle there, and you're never going to be happy. So if you're living up to those values, then you're living a true life.
Very powerful statement. Kelly briefly talked about the mindset, and I'm going to briefly talk about the mindset. We're doing more of this. I'm working with a small group now. We're working on having them understand. These are young kids between 12 and 14 or so to understand what the mindset about how we can differentiate. And in our program, we're going to be discussing it and how to reset the mindset. And we hope you tonight, when you gather the information that we're sharing with you, that you go back and you talk to your children about how they can reset the mindset and develop that personal money value. The growth mindset is very powerful, and it's not all of one or one or the other. It's at different times, but in generally speaking, that growth mindset is the person that's, I'm going to just summarize, that really is not afraid to fail, to do it again, to learn from that, and to take on challenges or things that are difficult for them to learn from. And as it says, when I fail, I learn. If you succeed, if you succeed, I'm inspired. They learn from other people. But the fixed mindset, it regulates. It's just what it's saying. It's fixed. It belief that everything you know now is what you know. That if you're not good at painting or an artist, you're not artistic. You're not, and you can't learn it. It's very limiting. And what happens with that, as Kaylee said, you don't really get a chance to live on your values because you're limiting. And this is where when we talk about depression or not feeling great about ourselves, because we're letting ourselves down. We want to do things, but this is more fear-based. If you succeed, if someone else succeeds, I feel threatened. That's where people talk about the other, well, it didn't work that hard. It is a mindset. And what we hope to do with our program going forward, and we'll talk about that again in the future, is how we can help them develop and see that mindset.
Again, talking about the mindset, there's a term when we're talking about money in the mindset. It's called the financial blueprint. And this is how you think, act, and feel about money. Your actions and habits regarding money stem from your thoughts and beliefs about money. But how did you get these beliefs in the first place? The simplified answer is your environment. Culture, companies marketing at you saying you can't live without their product, major influences in your life. An example, I've had a younger client who she lives a great life, has done a lot of traveling, but she's been able to accumulate a large sum of money, and she's very responsible with money. And I asked her, I'm like, how are you so good with money? How did you learn this? And her grandfather, who was born and lived through the Great Depression, was a major influence in her life and was one of the first people that taught her about money. So that's where she picked up her habits from. Another example, I've met clients who they've experienced someone in their family who died at a young age. So they live with the mindset of YOLO. And if you've never heard of YOLO before, YOLO, it stands for you only live once. So life is too short. Let's blow it all and just have a good time while we're here on earth. That's great if that's what you value, but then on the same hand, if you live past the age that you thought you were going to pass away, then you have no plan in place, and then you may be putting the burden on family or society to take care of you. And I think you live, I don't know, Rob, you could probably add to this. I think you live with uncertainty and it's stressful.
Yeah, you do, especially at that point, because you look back and you realize where you are, the outcome. You know, when we talk about vision and having what you want in life, to think about if you do live longer, which we want to, and our culture certainly living longer and longer, why not finish out that part in your way? And that's what I think a lot of that confusion is when we live for today, and a lot of people do because they have credit cards, etc. And again, we'll be talking about that, but it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like you to think about the influences in your own life that have made you think about money the way you do today. And once you know your money blueprint, you can enhance it if you like it, or you can change it to model what you want your children to absorb and follow. You're the greatest influence on your children, and you can have the greatest impact. Next slide. All right, so now we'll go on to the first step in setting your children up for financial success. And as I already said, it's all about modeling and being a good example for them. It's also about getting them involved. You know, we're busy in our day-to-day lives, and sometimes we're just on autopilot and we do stuff, and we don't realize that it could be a teachable moment. I know that word may be overused nowadays, but that's a great opportunity to teach your children. So one of the ways of getting them involved, bringing them to the bank and having them set up a checking and savings account. When I worked as a banker before I joined my family's company, and I was so excited when parents would bring in their children, and I would explain to them the consequences of overdrafting their accounts and how a debit card works, and their parents were so appreciative. So have the banker tell them, go into great detail on how this all works if you don't want to have to do it yourself. You can have them help you with the grocery budget, teach them about credit, and show them how a credit card works and a credit card statement. I have a credit card statement here now. TJ Maxx, love TJ Maxx. On your credit card statements, if you've ever looked at them, they will show you, if you only pay the minimum payment, how long it'll take to pay off and the total cost of it. So this example, $92. It'll take me, if I only pay the minimum payment, it'll take me 4 months to pay off for a total of $98. So $6, which doesn't, $6 in interest I'd be paying, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that $6 I could have bought 2 coffees at Starbucks rather than paying interest to the bank. And $6 here, $6 there, it could add up. So if you have the mindset of, oh, it's only $2, you'd be surprised how it does add up. One of the things that's not on here that I want to add is getting your children, especially when you're getting close to college applications and filling out those FAFSA forms, is get them involved in the student loan process. I can't tell you how many students I went to school with that didn't know what the interest rate was on their loans. They didn't know how much was on their loans or how the process worked. I know it's a lot easier. Again, you're busy. It's easy to just do it all yourself, but a little time up front and spending time with them going through the process up front will pay huge dividends in the long run. Rob, next slide.
I'm saving myself one.
Oh, am I controlling?
Yeah, I'll bring it back. I forgot that. We can't, okay, there we go.
Okay. All right. Speaking of student loans, step 2 is to discuss debt. Debt is a huge problem in our country, and I blame it on culture. Culture has taught us, and the institutions that are in place in the United States have taught us to, if we want something, we buy it and we pay for it later. But if you look at the facts, I mean, $930 billion in credit card debt, 1.5 trillion in student loan debt. I mean, debt is not fun. It does not feel good, and it affects every aspect of your life. And that's basically why it's the number one cause of divorce. The costs are not only financial. It doesn't just cost a lot being in debt, but it also is emotional. And we'll go into that on the next slide. But to wrap it up, when you're talking to your children about debt and discussing it, the number one simple rule to emphasize after talking about debt is to teach them, if you want something, work for it and save for it first, and then pay for it in full. It's so much more rewarding to fully own something than to buy it and have to worry about how you're going to pay for it later. So the next one, going back to costs, Rob will talk about emotional costs on the next slide.
And to just show up what Kelly's saying, if they don't see it, it's not there. And you know, with the credit cards, when you're buying something, you're realizing that it's only $100 or $150. You're not seeing it as it would be if you had money. Let's face it, if we did not have credit cards and we did not have cash in our pockets and we didn't have chickens, we couldn't obtain something. So that's the thought process we're trying to create, is the tangible aspect of the money. The emotional costs, and as you can see, we say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I apologize why this is not working, my clicker. But the real challenge for this, the real challenge when we talk about emotional, it creates anxiety levels because it's omnipresent. You can deny it, you can pretend it's not happening, but you have anxiety. You don't feel in control of your life. And for many people, as this debt steepens, because you cannot save when you're in debt, it just continues to spiral out of control. You feel hopeless. And depression, and you know, the depression rate in our country is skyrocketing because there's so many external components. This debt is one of them. You feel stuck. You're not able to be as creative as you would be. When we talk about self-esteem and a lot of people that have low self-esteem, this is contributing because debt signifies failure in certain people. And the bottom line, or most importantly, that I can talk about this, and it really ties in from the coaching aspect, is you kind of lack a sense of true authenticity if you can't be yourself. You can't be as expressive as you want. And I'm not talking about buying things. I'm talking about being who you are and living the type of life you want. You do feel stuck. And there's this story I tell constantly about the 9-year-old. I'm going to make it really condensed. We're talking about a vision going into this 10-year-old, talking about a vision going into middle school. And I asked him, what would it be like if he got in the car with his mom and dad, pulled out of the driveway and drove around and drove around, drove around. And he asked, where we're going? And the answer was, we don't know. They continue to drive around, drive around, drive around. It's a true story. And he asked again, Mom, Dad, where are we going? We don't know. So I said, what happens if you continue to drive around, drive around, drive around? He says, you run out of gas. I said, and then what happens? He says, and you get stuck. And this is quickly answered, so I'm having the feeling that he experiences. So I said, what do? He says, you call a tow truck. Well, this is life. If you don't really understand what you want and you let life take you where it's going to go, and this is what happens when you're in debt because you're no longer feeling in control. You do feel stuck. See, and Kaylee and I are tow truck drivers. We can help you get out of this.
Mm-hmm. So now that we talked about the emotional costs, I'll talk about the financial costs. I know this looks a little overwhelming, but I'll go through it, and I'm going to control your screen now.
I've got to hold it, otherwise I can't move it. Okay.
Okay. Can you see my mouse?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
here, all right. I'm just doing a simple mortgage calculator. I just found this online. You can Google it, Google mortgage calculator. And this shows how much you pay over the course of 30 years. So for example, say you go and you want to buy a $300,000 house and you put 20% down. That's 60,000. So 300 minus 60,000, you're taking out a mortgage for $240,000. So that's your mortgage. The interest rate is 4%, and it's a fixed rate mortgage, 30-year period. The monthly payments are going to be $1,146, and now this does not take into account taxes or insurance. It's just the mortgage. And over those 30 years, you'll pay a total of roughly $412,000. So you're paying $412,000 for a but you're only borrowing $240,000. Now, let's say you want to shorten that time frame to 20 years. Same mortgage amount, $240,000 at 4% interest over 20 years. The monthly payments will go up by $300, but you're only paying a total of $349,000. So if you wrap all this up, adding $300 extra per month towards your mortgage would save you 10 years and $63,000 in interest. I mean, that's quite a bit of money in 20 years. And if you break that down even further, that's a savings of $3,150 a year over those 20 years. I think that's pretty cool. And if you show your kid this, and some of you may not even seen this yourself, and I just did this with my husband. If you go look at your mortgage and I just did this right through my bank. They have these amortization schedules. You can look and see if you put an extra 10 grand here, an extra $100 a month towards your mortgage, it'll show you how much quicker you can pay it off and all the interest that you can save. It's really cool. So if we break this down even further on the next screen, which I don't know. Oh, perfect. All right.
Really, I just wanted to interject. When you talk about that person, and I meant to do this earlier, and I'm sorry, but because we talked about this earlier, that 63,000, when you're talking about your next stage of your life, that's 63,000 that you'll have for you to live. You know, when we're talking about the people that live per day, it's actually helps your planning for retirement in the future, and I think it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because otherwise that would just be lost money to the bank, but instead that's yours to keep now.
Right.
Yeah, and what could you do with $63,000? The options are endless.
I have my list right here, Kelly.
Yeah. So let's say, because I'm a financial advisor, that you save that $3,150 you save each year. And this is a simple time value of money calculator. It just shows that it's like a compounding calculator. And again, I just typed into Google time value money calculator. And this is how it works. You're starting out with $0 in the investment account. You're putting it in an investment account that has 5% interest growth rate. You're putting in $3,150 annually per year over 20 years, because they're saving money over 20 years. That will turn into, after 20 years, $104,000. So just by putting that $3,100 that you're saving per year in interest into an investment account earning 5%, you're almost doubling your money in 20 years rather than losing $63,000. So
It's yours.
yeah. So I think it's very cool.
Excellent. We put this up, and this was a debate between Kelly and I about the seesaw. And what do we mean by the seesaw? And to be honest, we talked about it a few weeks ago. By early today, I had kind of forgot the gist of where we were going with this. But it's simple. When I read Creating Balance, we're not talking about just saving money. We're talking about living. We're talking about getting that seesaw to be balanced between saving and living. And living, of course, is going to be debt, but debt is not horrible. Debt is controllable, and debt is sometimes well because it builds your credit rating if you control it. You know, if you have a credit card and you pay it off each month, it's a good thing. But if you don't, it's not. So we're talking about really, and I'm going to throw this to Kaylee to finish up on it, but really creating that balance, because if you think just about money, it can be as stressful as debt if that's all you think about. Kaylee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on the other hand, if you're in so much debt, you can't save enough, and there isn't that balance. But we were talking about this earlier, and I took it a step further. I have clients who are in debt, and the husband thinks it's not a problem, whereas the wife is really concerned about it, and they don't have savings, they don't have a plan, she's not set up for her future. So not only is there that balance between saving and spending, but there's a balance in a relationship that's off as well. So that's another way of looking at the seesaw effect.
Yeah, and what Kelly had mentioned earlier about the values. So one, the values of not being in debt, the value of being solvent and planning for the future is a great value for her. But for him, maybe just paying off the credit card and having the amount to pay off the minimum amount is a value. And so when you have that difference, it can create, and that's why it is one of the number one leading factors of divorce in our culture.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've talked about getting your kids involved. We've talked about debt, which is more the spending side. So now we're going to talk about the saving side. And we talked a little bit about this already with the last example and the power of compounding. So one of the things is to show your kids that example, show them the power of compounding and how time is on their side. And we go into more detail in our program about this, showing how much easier it is to save when you start earlier at a younger age rather than waiting until your 40s or 50s when it's almost too late. Another thing to teach about savings, and this is even good for yourself, automate your savings so you don't have to think about it. Kind of similar to when you're going on a diet, they say clear out all the junk food in your pantry so you don't eat it and you don't exhaust yourself by fighting with yourself on not eating that. So when kids are first starting out, they're not used to earning money when they first start in their job. So have them at least put 10% of their salary automatically going into their 401k. That way they don't see it, it's not there, they're not going to spend it. Another thing they can do is have separate savings accounts. My mom does this. She sets up separate bank accounts at other banks that she doesn't normally go to, and she has an emergency fund, a vacation fund, a holiday fund. That way, when emergencies do come up or the holidays are coming, you got to put all the presents on a credit card. Rather than do that and scrambling to find the funds or pay for them later, you already have it saved up there. The last thing I'll talk about, and I love this investment vehicle, especially for young adults, is a Roth IRA. If you have not heard about a Roth IRA, look into this. As soon as your children start working and they have earned income, they can contribute to a Roth IRA up to $5,500 a year. When they're first starting out, they're not earning a lot of money and they're probably in a lower tax bracket. And they can take this money up to $5,500 a year, and it's already been taxed, and they put it into this investment vehicle, and it grows tax deferred until they start taking it out in retirement. So when they take the money out in retirement, whatever they put in, it's already been taxed, so that's not taxed, and all the growth is also tax free. And the government can't force you. I mean, at least now, unless they change the rules, they can't force you to take your money out like other investment vehicles. Normally, when you reach 70 and a half, they require you to take minimum distributions, a certain percentage of your retirement assets out because they want their tax money. Another great thing about a Roth IRA is you can use it. You can take the money out for post-secondary education expenses, and you can also use it for first-time home purchases up to $10,000. These are great. Hopefully they don't change the rules on these because they're amazing.
And Kelly, I just want to share up one of your points about that automate savings. With the 401k that comes out in advance, and I think you mentioned it, if that money was in the paycheck, it's more apt to be spent. If it's taken out prior, that we adjust as human beings, we adjust to what we have. And if let's say you're clearing $700 a week, but then you're putting in $70 a week into your 401k, so you're clearing $630, we'll adapt to that. So having that 401k put, or even as we talk about the younger ones, and I will be going over the next few slides, taking it first. It's there and it's done. It's a very powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Habits, which is my part. Habit step 1, the financial blueprint. I don't have to reread this and go over this again, but I'm going to read something that was posted by this incredible person that posts stuff on Facebook. The most effective gift a parent can give to their child is to model the type of person you want them to be. If there's anything I could really do more of, and I plan to, and I wish I realized it when my children were small, they're both grown adults and wonderful people to be, they are, it's that the role model, the power of our role model. We're the number one role model in their lives, especially same gender parent, number one role model. They may not listen to everything they say, but they watch everything we do. And as we grow older, we start to think back, we start seeing more of our own parents and ourselves. So what I'm saying to you, this financial blueprint is your opportunity to show them what you want for them, to show them. Telling them is good, it's powerful, but showing them is more powerful. So the opportunity of your financial blueprint and to review where you stand with this and how you're exhibiting it is so key for them. Because as Kaylee said, it's environmental, it's the parents, it's the teachers, it's the people who come in line with, but parents are the biggest. And it is an opportunity now to give them the jump start. We're going to be going over this in our course that we're giving very carefully with them to help them develop it, to help them see for themselves where they are at and make some adjustments. That's all it is. We're going to have them think about things a little differently and help them adjust. Any thoughts on that, Kelly? I know you said it earlier. You summed it up. This is what I grew up with, although they may not have been labeled with. My mother had jars for everything. And back in the day, they had card games, penny card games that all the couples would come over and they'd go to everybody's house separately. And there was always tons of coins around, and she too did have a Christmas account and all that. So she had some wisdom that she really didn't share with me, though. I observed, but she really didn't share. And what we're recommending is this is the physical aspect we're talking about, the tangible part. Setting up jars or cans or whatever it is, one for saving, one for spending, and one for sharing. I'm going to go right to the sharing or giving part. The benefits of giving, it develops character. It gives them an opportunity to feel that they're doing something, they're helping others. It's an incredible life learning event that is so powerful that I recommend it for everybody. Contribution is one of the big 7 C's of confidence and competence. This is a tool for them to really understand how they can make a difference. by them giving or sharing. And I wanted to ask Kaylee, because she's the financial person, why do we say savings first? Because many people have questioned me when I was doing the small workshops. Well, we got to talk about your budget first, then you save. But we're talking about a mental part. Am I correct? What is the reason for saying that job for savings should come first?
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you're talking. I think again, culture, we have an income, and usually you income minus expenses, and whatever's left over you save. But that's backwards. Whatever your income is, you should save first, and then whatever's left over you can spend. Because as you said before, you're going to spend whatever you make anyway. And you're going to fight yourself because of self-control. That way, if you save first, we're going to figure out how to live off whatever's left over.
Thank you. And it is about the mindset. Let me get this done first and reap the rewards. They need to see the building process and the physical aspect about these jars. And the reason I put the pictures of the jars is because you can see the growth. Now, for myself, and I'm going to share this up front quickly, is that I had one of those 5-gallon water things that you put on the thing. I never filled it up, so I never felt there was a lot of money in there. But I at one time emptied it out, and I had about $900. It didn't seem like much because it was such a big jug. But this would give them an opportunity to see the growth back of themselves, that money's starting to build, and the discipline that it requires, and the benefits, especially the giving part. I can't emphasize that enough, how important that is. And for many youths today, they don't get a chance to get the benefits of giving. It's so powerful. We put a couple of ideas, if you talk about them, the tangible aspect of $7 a week at 5%, after 10 years, you have $4,720. That's not a lot of money by today's standards, but $7 a week, just put aside. And it goes on from there. So when they realize that they have the power to create this, even at a young age, it'll be incredible as they grow older, because that will be the forerunner of their thoughts. I want to take care of my life and then spend what I can and enjoy it, not worry about it. Habit number 3, create an allowance agreement. For many parents, and they're wonderful parents, and I've learned so much from parents. When I wrote the book, it was based on learning from the parents. I had no intention on writing the book, The Digital Age, understanding how much harder it is today's culture than I had it as a parent, or even my parents had it. And I won't go into that. I can get on it, and Kelly would have to tell me to get off because I have to talk about it forever. But it's about them seeing this and creating an allowance agreement so they earn it. The key word is earn. This sense of entitlement in our culture, and the kids don't mean it, and we can get mad at them because they expect it, but that's what they're taught through TV and peer pressure and these games they watch. There's a sense of entitlement. The philosophy when I was a youth, if I wanted something, and I was speaking to Kelly, and she, of course, is much younger than me, but it never was that, let me go ask for it first. You had to think of a way to get it. And for me, whether it was shoe shining on the corner, I lived in Manhattan, or selling Kool-Aid, and nowadays you can't do that because you get arrested, you'd be exposed, selling Kool-Aid, or working at my uncle's garage and helping around the garage and pumping gas at 10 or 11 years old. That was the mental state. That was the mindset. I wanted this bike. I had to earn it. I had to figure out a way. I didn't go first to ask. And not that they wouldn't want to buy it from me. It didn't have the means. So it was part of my life's philosophy that we want to help these children understand. I'm not going to read this all, but it does create responsibility, it creates ownership, and there's a sense of fulfillment and achievement that only they can feel and own. That's lacking in our culture. With this sense of entitlement, it diminishes dreams, and it diminishes that ability to feel good because we're not earning it ourselves. I can't emphasize this enough. There was a question, and Kaylee and I also debated on it. Should we put a dollar value on this? And the reason I say yes to this, because it's not about what they should be doing, their homework, cleaning their rooms, preparing themselves for the next day, getting things done for themselves. It's the other things that we're negotiating on. You know, mow the lawn, I'll do this. Vacuum the house, I'll do this. It gives them incentive. And again, it gives them a sense of control. Children today, younger than ever, feel a need for control. Now, they know the rules and regulations, they know the house rules, they know the laws, but they need a sense of control that they can do this. And that gives them that sense of achievement. They're more apt to invest in doing things. And you stop pulling teeth to get them to clean their room when they know there's incentives on such as this. There's a reward to doing something above and beyond. Kaylee, any thoughts? And also team building. It is a big part of team building. Now, although Kaylee told me only 3 steps, I went above and beyond and I put 3.5 steps. This is 3.5, and she didn't know it, so I snuck it in here. A no for today is a yes for tomorrow. Building for the better things in life. Reflective thinking. We talked about this earlier. It's at a loss because things are happening so quickly. If we get them to think about what they want and how they get it, it causes that reflective thinking that they can accomplish it. Haley used this word, have them work for what they want. Have them work for what they want. It goes together. I want, I work. Have them create the vision, whether it's a toy, a phone, or a game, of what they want. Have them see it. That's the power of that. Not just tell you what they want. Have them create what they want, and then have them set the goals to do it. I'll have to vacuum the house 4 times this week, or I'll do extra above because I really want to facilitate this. What can I do? Part of the negotiation. And then when you talk about the communication, it ties right into that. This develops self-discipline, which really develops that self-respect that we so much need. I can't emphasize this enough. And when I've worked with these young adults and we've set goals and they've started accomplishment, you can hear them starting to be less angry and frustrated. And we all know what it's like to have an angry, frustrated child. The last part, and I'm going to leave you with this and let Kaylee kind of sum it up if she wants to. Needs versus wants. This is big in our culture. There's such a confusion on this. Having them understand, even ourselves as adults, what's the difference between what we need and what we want? That comes in with the spending and saving. Do I really need this? But I want to have more money to buy this. That reflective thinking ties in between the needs and wants. Do we really need a new phone when this phone is still working? Do we really need a new car if the car is working well, but someone else has a nice car and I want one, and it's only another $150 a month above my $450, so it's $600 a month. Allowing ourselves to really see what we want. That's the difference. Our desires and our values. Get it?
Exactly. Yeah, reflective. Having them think if they want something, it's like if you want this, and then you may have to do without this. Just making them think about it. And then another, I can't remember where you said it, but that sense of achievement and accomplishment. And every kid is different, but for me, when I don't mind doing dishes because when I finish, it's complete. I've achieved something. It feels good. I know everybody's different. They might find that in something else, but I think that's good for kids to feel or learn.
There's a video, and I know I said I'd be quiet, but there's something, this is Kaylee's task to keep me quiet sometimes or slow me down. But there's a wonderful video from this admiral. If you want to achieve something in the morning, you get up and you make your bed. I make my bed every day, and I only do it for me. And I don't like doing it, but I love the results. I love walking in the room and see that bed made. It's a sense of accomplishment for myself. And if I can tie in, and Kaylee did ask me to tell the story about my sense of accomplishment with the lawn. And as a younger man, but not young man, but as a younger man, I like to do my own lawn. And even though I worked a lot of hours, I like to do my own lawn. I like the way I edged. You know, people told me I was anal about it, but maybe I was, but I like the way I do it. So I would mow that lawn, then I'd crisscross and make all kinds of designs, and then I'd get the weed whacker edge and come look at it 2 or 3 times. After I was done, before I put the lawnmower away, I'd go in the house and look out the window at my accomplishment. And then after that, I'd go across the street and look at my accomplishment. I felt so accomplished doing that lawn the way I liked it. And of course, there was problems once I hired a lawn guy who wasn't doing it the way I did. But my sense of accomplishment from doing that lawn and the way it looked really made me feel good. A lot of work, especially with that edging, but it made me feel good. And that's what we're trying to get the message to these young adults and the young adults to be. And our program will offer that, give them the opportunity to really feel good about themselves, personal development, and growth.
Sorry, I'm having a thunderstorm here. Hopefully you can't hear it.
Okay. We're going to go to question and answers. If there's a box, and I apologize, there's normally a box on the side. This seemed to have disappeared. We had a little problem in the beginning, so I apologize. If there's not, I did have a few people send me some earlier, and so I figured I'd face, but there's one that came in early today. Bear with me 1 second. Kelly, this is mainly directed towards you. I think, what age can people or parents really start this process about financial independence?
I think the earlier the better. I have neighbors across the way that have a 5-year-old, and they've already been teaching him. Every time they're dealing with money, they're showing him and explaining it to him and talking about it with him. So, I mean, I've heard of kids learning sign language at 6 months old. So if they can learn that, they can learn anything. So really 5 years old. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
I agree. And I know I was sharing this with Kelly earlier. When my children were like 3, I started with the coins on the bed, the quarter, and then but they actually handle the money. And it's because I come from an era where there was more money than credit cards. You shop with money. So for me, it was much more logical and natural to do that. And I know they both enjoyed it. And Wiz would go get me a quarter, and they'd run and get a quarter even at 2 or 3 years old, because it was the tangible aspect. And that's probably why I'm driving this so hard. I think the younger, the better, but meeting them where they're at. A lot of parenting nowadays, and what I hope to write maybe another book on this, but parenting versus coaching. There is more coaching to be in parenting because the kids are so knowledgeable. And although it's about really meeting them where they're at, and I think this is one aspect that it's going to give them an opportunity the earlier that we start to develop this. I brought this up, and even though it's off subject, it shows you where things develop. When I was doing research about bullying, I learned that bullying starts at the age 3, most predominantly age 3, in preschool. At 3 years of age, they're already developing this, and we've seen it. Well, kids will take that toy and all that, and we think it's just their personality. That can be developed as this can. So it's never too young to really think about how you can really help the children.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at the time, Rob. We have about a couple minutes left.
Okay. And I'm going to add this last one, Kelly, to you about college. How can I help prevent excessive college debt?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Yeah, as we talked about before, it's up to $1.5 trillion now, and it's just having huge consequences. I think it's been the student loans have, the cost of college has grown 6%, almost double than inflation over the last 10 or 20 years. And we have a whole hour, one hour session is all about college and teaching kids to go to college for the right reasons. Go to college and get what you pay for. And if it's not the right path, there are other options, or there are other options to have to get college paid for you rather than out of your own pocket. So we help the students with that. But when it comes to with you, the parents. I meet a lot of clients that are debating whether between saving for retirement or paying for their kids' college education. And I'm telling you now, it's okay not to pay for your child's college education, but you can help them in other ways. Help them find the right scholarships, get them into internships, or show them the options. It's not an either or option, and college may not be the end all be all. Usually it is in most cases, but there are other ways to go about it.
Yeah. And Kelly brought up that we talking earlier, and we're going to finish on time. We're doing well, Kelly. She had brought up about someone that put in 4 years of college, come out with maybe 150 to 200,000 worth of debt, and now has a substantial monthly payment. And they get a job that they're really not passionate about, earning maybe 35,000 or possibly $40,000 a year. And what does that lead them? For all this work they've done, they're not living and working their passion, and they can't afford to pay their bills, so they go back home. What does it do to their psyche? What does it do? What does it do to them and their sense of authenticity or creativity? In fact, there's a study that millennials in general, up to 29%, are still relying on their parents because exactly what's happening. They're not lazy, but they're coming out with this absorbent amount of debt that they can't pay back. Mm. Great point. Thank you, Ken. Mm-hmm. We're going to finish up with talk a little bit about our course. And look who's the two people that are presenting it. You know them. It's the famous Haley and Rob. Haley? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this we've been working on this for over about a year or so now. We've talked to high schools, colleges, parents, and we've really narrowed it down into a condensed course. It's a 6-session, there are 6-hour-long sessions that we're going to do, and we talk about everything from a lot of what we talked about today. We're going to dive deeper with the students, helping them understanding their financial mindset, helping them differentiate between needs and wants, showing them the power of compounding and the costs of debt, banking, budgeting, and a lot of what Rob has talked about too. We work so well together because I'm more the left side mathematical numbers, and he's more the right brain creative, really great at connecting with students. He's been working with them a long time, and he knows how to get through to them. And I think what differentiates this program compared to other financial literacy programs out there is that we don't just talk about the money, but we talk about the emotional side too. I can teach a budget all day long, but if they don't understand what it's going to do for them and how it's going to get them, if they don't have a plan or know how it's going to help them get to where they want to go, then it's pointless. It doesn't work. So we'll talk about all that stuff in a condensed version. Rob, did you want to add to that?
I do, and Kelly said it's interactive and live. And although it's an hour, we're going to give an hour and a half. We're going to be on for an extra half hour for them to talk to us because it's going to be live and interactive. We're going to allow them to really feel it. And we've discussed this over and over, and I know it's one of our phrases. Don't let debt destroy dreams. And the other is that we don't want to teach, we want to reach, because they're going to come away with the feeling that they can own it. What we're talking about tonight, this is a course that we've really been working on and have adapted it to really fit the need out there. We started out with an idea, and then we learned from it, talking to high school principals and colleges, what was needed out there. So it's not just financial skills, it's the life skills that go along with it that both Kelly and I can definitely share with these young adults, which I'm really happy about. Yeah. And we're offering a special deal. Of course, if you sign up before August 31st, there's courses something similar like this, but are not combining the life and the financial for $700 and $800. We're trying to make this cost effective because the passion is there. to really reach and have these young adults come out and knowing or going into college. And we're directing this directly at high school students, directing it mainly at high school students so we can get them ready to look at college and understand what it's going to cost, and let's approach this the best way we can.
Yeah, a lot of schools, unfortunately, are not offering this, and they're trying to pass laws out there, but it's not happening. So we know there's a need out there, and that's why we've worked so hard to bring it to anybody that wants it.
Right, exactly. And hopefully we'll be getting into schools in the eventual future, but we're going to do this online, so these kids are at home, they're not running around, and we can really make the time work for them. That is all I have. I'll leave it to Kelly to finish up, but thank you very much for giving us this time, and I hope you really were able to pick up on our passion for this.
Yes. Thank you for joining. We will send out an email with more information on when we're going to start our first course. It'll probably be in August and September when everybody's back to school and work and back in on the routine. So thank you again. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great night. Thank you.